Yep. We're picking up today where we left off yesterday in your booklet that goes in your notebook on page 136, I think. If you remember yesterday, we added and subtracted fractions that had a common denominator. Today, I bet you can't even guess what we're going to do. Different common denominators. Yeah. We're going to add or subtract. I do, sweetie. I just think it's funny. So we're going to add and subtract fractions that have different denominators. So when trying to find a common denominator for two fractions, first find the
order of the least common.
first find the I don't know. I know how to do them. I don't know what she's wanting to put in there. Let's just we're just gonna okay. Here's my problem. I got a splinter in my finger, and yeah, I had a couple boys last period say they'd get it out with their pocket knife. I was like, no, no, no. So anyway, I can't just write with my finger. Yeah, I'm sure. Uh, huh? I don't know what's expected to be in these blanks, but what I'm going to put in them is we're going to find the common denominator. Let's put the common, the common denominator of the, that's what we're going to put, as dumb as that sounds. Find the least common, well, no, because that's not true. Denominator.
When trying to find the common denominator.
That's part of it. First find the common denominator of the denominators. I know that sounds dumb.
No, the first part.
When trying to find a common denominator. What? Let's just not put anything there, shall we? I don't know. I don't know what's supposed to go there. Maybe. Heck, I know how to do the problems. Let's just go do the problems. All right. To find, if we go back and look at something like this, 1/4 and let's try this, 5/12. What is the least common denominator? It's going to be 12, because what can I multiply this fraction by to get a 12 on the bottom? The 3. So let me show you, and you're going to like, why are you showing me that? Because I don't do that. I know you don't, but I have a plan. How do I factor 4 completely? Okay. How do I factor 12 completely? 4 and 3, and then 4 will go 2 times 2. So 2 times 2 times 3. Right? You with me? Now, the least common denominator is, what's common? No, well, I'll get there, yes. There's a 2 that's common, and another 2 that's common. Now, is there anything else that's common? No. We write down everything else we see. That's the least common denominator. Okay. To do something like this, no, you don't have to do all that. You can look at it and know it's 12 because you just automatically know. Let's try another one. 7/8 and 13/30. Now, listen to me. One way to find a common denominator is to multiply those together. That may be the least one. It may not be the least one. If it's not the least one, then that means later on you can simplify it some, okay? So let me show you how you find the least one. All right. How does 8 factor completely? 2 times 2 times 2. How does 30 factor completely? Because it'd be 2 times 15, and then 3 times 5. You with me? Now, your least common denominator. What's common to both lists? What else is common to both lists? What else is in both lists? Nothing. So to find the least common denominator, I just write everything else down. So a 2 and a 2, and a 3 and a 5. So what's 2 times 2 times 2 times 3, and 24 times 5 is 120. That's your least common denominator. So you're thinking, well, I wouldn't have done that. I would have just used 240 and I would have had to factor out a 2 at the end. That's totally fine. You can do that. I want you to see how what we're learning today is this. Now, this should be in your notebook. Is it in your notebook? We want to find the common denominator. Will this first denominator factor? Hey, Darrell, if you would scoot over about a foot, that way Chloe can see. Thank you. So when we're on the board, if you can scoot over a little bit so she can see. How does this factor, folks?
8x times
Mm-hmm.
6x plus
Gentlemen, hush.
times x plus 2.
X plus 6 times x plus 2. Good. Earbuds out. How does this one factor? X plus 3 times x plus 2. Now, to find your least common denominator, do you see any factors that are the same? X plus 2. Do you have any other factors that are the same? No. So I'm going to just write everything else down. There's an x plus 6, and there's an x plus 3. That would be your smallest common denominator. Yeah, on these, we're just finding the least common denominator. That's all we're doing. Does that make sense, kind of? Okay. Let's try B. No. All right, let's look at B. Will the first denominator factor? How? Good. 3x times x minus 3. Now, will the second denominator factor? No. Now, here's the deal. I'm going to factor it in a weird way. You wouldn't do this doing algebra, but I'm going to factor it this way. 6 is 2 times 3. What's that? Well, it was supposed to be 2 times 3. Okay. I know. Just got a plan. Just trust me. You don't trust me. Well, I don't know what to tell you. Okay. Do we have any common factors in those two lists? We've got a 3 and an x. So we've got a 3. We're going to write that down. Now, this x, not with this one though, with the other one. Why with the other one? Because it's being multiplied. That x has a minus with it. Yeah, we're not killing a cat. Do I have anything else in those two lists that's the same? No. So I'm going to write everything else down. I'm going to write down that x, and then I'm going to write down this x minus 3. And then the 2. And then the 2 that I forgot. All right, so what in the crap have I got here? I got 3 times 2. That's 6. Then I got x times x times x minus 3. Yep. Okay. Hmm? All right. Now you've got a box. The steps for adding or subtracting rational expressions. Look at step 1. We're going to factor the denominators, and we're going to find the least common multiple. That's the same thing as the least common denominator. Multiply by variations of 1 to make equivalent fractions. And then once you have the common denominators, we'll add or subtract the numerators just like we did yesterday. Now, let's go. You don't have to write any of this down. Let's go down here and let's do, what was that problem we did a minute ago? 1/8. Nah, I don't want to do a big one like that. Let me make up something else. I don't want to do 1. I've got to make up something. I'm talking to myself. Give me a minute. I'm talking to myself. 2/9. No. 2/9 plus 5/12. Now, you okay, Pumpkin? Head up now. Okay, so I got to figure out what is the least common denominator. Because if I find the smallest one, then it's easiest to work with. Can you come up with the smallest number that 9 and 12 both go into? It's 36. You said 3. Now, 3 is what's called the greatest common factor. And it's so easy to get those two mixed up. Now, so here's the deal. 36. You think, how in the snap did you get 36? Now, how do you factor 9? 3 times 3. How do you factor 12 completely?
2, 2, 3.
Now, my least common denominator, what's the same in both of those lists? I got a 3. I got anything else that's the same? No, so I got to write everything else down. 3, 2, 2. 3 times 3? 2 times 2 is 4, and 9 times 4 is 36. Right. Least common denominator is 36. What does this need? Needs a 4. Why does it need a 4? Now look right here. Look.
No way.
4 is what this one needs. Oh.
That means the other one
Uh-huh. Yes. Now, why am I multiplying by 4 over 4, bless you? Because that's 1, and I can multiply anything by 1. It might look different, but it still has the same value. Right? Right. Okay. Now, what do I need to multiply this by? Look. So, what is this fraction now?
8 over 36 is
Plus,
15 over 36.
can I add those now?
Yes.
What do I get?
Yes, that's the best number in here.
23? That was Michael Jordan's number toward the end of his career, but okay. Okay. So, do you see? Look, I needed what was left over. I needed what was left over. Now let's go up here. Now let's go right here. Now, let's factor the denominators. X plus 2 times x plus 1. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to write least common denominator. What's common between this and this? X plus 1. Right? What's left over? Ladies and gentlemen, that's your common denominator. That's your common denominator. So you're saying, okay, fine, what do I do with it? Now, I'm going to erase this, and I'm going to put it right up here. Least common denominator is x plus 1 times x plus 2. Okay, now, I'm going to rewrite the problem with that denominator factored, because you said it was x plus 1 times x plus 2, right? Plus, I know it's loud, I know. I don't like using it, but now, so here's what we got to think. What part of the least common denominator does this fraction need? It doesn't need it, it's got the whole thing already. What about this one? So, this one needs x plus 2. Because what did I really multiply by? 1. So, do I have the same denominator now? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add those suckers together and put them over the common denominator. I have x plus 4 plus what? 2x plus 4. If you can do that part in your head, that's fine. X plus 4 plus 2x plus 4 is 3x plus 8. I just added those fractions together. Did I lose you somewhere?
No, I was thinking for some reason that it like makes the bottom of the denominator after it's like done. I just multiply them.
There's no need to. If you wanted to FOIL those back, you can. I would not. There's no need to. You can just leave it there. Okay, let's try another one. Can I erase this? Are you writing it down? You writing it down? Okay. Number 2. Will either of those denominators factor? Both? The second one will? How? The difference of 2 squares, good. Hey. No. Stop. Now, least common denominator. I need what's common between those two lists. An x plus 3. So that takes care of this and this. Do I have anything else common to both lists? So just say, do I have anything else common? No. Nope, because I've used everything over here. So write down everything else you see. Yes, Angel.
Put the x minus 3 to the ones that, or whatever you factor from one side to the other side. You know what I mean?
be careful when you say side, because that implies there's an equation, but I think I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And the answer is yes, that's what I'm going to do.
Okay, so we don't do all those steps.
I mean, if you can find the least common denominator without doing what I'm doing, that's okay. Now, here's the deal, though. You have to factor those denominators, okay? They have to be factored. So this is your least common denominator, right? So, I don't know why that happens sometimes. X divided by x plus 3 minus 18 over x minus 3 times x plus 3. You need to write that down. Now, once you've done these you're going to be able to do this and then look at this and figure out what your least common denominator is without going through the step that we did of finding it first. We said the common denominator was x plus 3 times x minus 3. What does this fraction need? Nothing. Good, because it's already got the whole least common denominator. What does this one need? This needs an x minus 3. Okay. So I've got in my denominator x minus 3 times x plus 3. What's the numerator? X squared minus 3x minus 18. Oh, self? Will that factor? Will that numerator factor? Yep, x minus 6 times x plus 3 divided by can we what? X minus 6 over x minus 3. Yep. That's it. Well, okay, I got a serious answer. What's up? Okay, go ahead.
What job does it job?
Here we go. Now, listen, I'm going to do this the way I do them, which means I'm going to try to use the fewest number of steps possible. You would appreciate that, Darrell. Okay. Now, so I'm going to look at this and I'm going to think, will those denominators factor? Both of them or just one of them? Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to go right under. How does that first fraction, the first denominator factor? Okay, so that's x plus 2 times x plus 2. Plus. I assume he went to the bathroom. Now, here's what we're going to do. Very good, Angel. Now, here's what we're going to think. What is the common denominator? What's common to both lists? An x plus 2. So I know both sides. I know I've got to have an x plus 2. So you could go down and do this. Just make your next line. I know there's got to be an x plus 2. So you might just make a little under that to say you've used it. What else is common? Yeah, I don't have anything else common, do I? Because on this one I've got an x plus 2, and on this one I've got an x. So write down everything else you've got. An x plus 2 and an x. That's your common denominator. Are you with me?
No, why did you try it twice?
Because I've got 2 of them.
Oh, yeah.
Only one. Now let's look at the first fraction. Does the first fraction lack any of the common denominator? So I need an x. Does the second fraction lack any of the denominator? You see this right here? Put that in parentheses because we're going to have to FOIL right there. I don't know, I'll have to work it. I can't do all that in my head. Oh, okay. All right. We're adding. What's this numerator? 2x squared. Now this is a plus. Now we're going to FOIL that because it says x plus 1 times x plus 2. FOIL it. X squared. Good. Plus 3x plus 2. Do I have any like terms? Yeah, it's going to be 3x squared. If you want to put x plus 2 quantities squared down there, you can, or you can just put x plus 2 times x plus 2. Either way. Now, I'll just tell you for time's sake that numerator won't factor. Did you? Are you with me? Let's look at number 4. Do we need to look at something? Okay, so let's look at number 4. Now, please be careful because number 4 is a minus. Now, here's what I'm going to say to you, though. Since it's a minus is the same thing as plus a. So I could, if I wanted to, rewrite it like that. And I think I will. I will do me. I will absolutely do that. All right. What is that first denominator? X minus 3 times what? X minus 3 times x minus 1 plus negative 4 over x minus 3. Yes, ma'am. I was hoping somebody would see that. Aiden, join the family, bud. So let's look at what this is. What is this now? This is 1 over x minus 3 plus negative 4 over x minus 3. What's my common denominator? Oh, snap, they're both just x minus 3. That's it. We only have 2 more problems of practicing the adding and subtracting. Now, if you notice, right below that is 4 review questions. Okay? And then on the next page is, now those are just butt ugly, is what those are. Hush, Darrell. Well, I will. That's called a complex fraction because it's a fraction inside a fraction. Now, here's what we're going to do. I really would appreciate you not talking while I'm trying to teach you. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do these 2 up here. And for today, we're going to skip these 4. Okay? Because these are just, I don't know why they're there. Because I don't know that you need them. And then we're going to go over here and do these 2. So we got 4 more questions to do. Number 5 and number 6, and then the 2 on the other page. Okay? So let's look at number 5. Number 5. What do I do? Factor what? The denominators. Okay. 3x minus 1 over what? Say again? X plus 3 times x minus 1. I thought I heard x plus 2 times x minus 1. No, it doesn't work. Plus. What is that? It's a dots. Bless you. Indeed. I do not have enough room to do this problem, so I'll have to just fudge it. Okay. Snap. Now let's talk common denominator. I said snap because when I write with a pen, changing the colors up here doesn't change the pen. The only way I can change the colors is down here on the little control panel. Common denominator. What's common between those two? Okay, so that takes care of this and this. Do I have anything else that's common? No, sure don't. And I'm trying to, where'd my doodad go? Well, what'd it go over there for? Snap. Nothing else common, so what do I do with the rest of it? So I need an x minus 1, and I need an x minus 3. How do I get that to go back? Does that do? That's not what I wanted. Where'd that go from? I don't know why that went over to the other side. I don't know what I did. Okay. What does this first fraction need? Good. So I want you to put that in parentheses, x minus 3. And what does this fraction need? This one needs an x minus 1. I like hearing that from you. I really do. Okay. What am I going to do with this first numerator? I'm going to FOIL it, yeah. I'm going to FOIL it. FOIL it. 3x squared. Help me here. What's outside? Good. Outside was minus 9x. Inside was minus 1x. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because the x plus 3's were common to both denominators, I have to write down what's common. So that does have to go in. Plus. Oh. The Lord knows algebra. Just saying. Go. X squared plus 3x, good. Good. Now, I hope you have enough room to go down one more step. I don't. So, not yet. We're going to combine like terms first. Do I have any like terms in that numerator? I got a 4x squared minus 7x, good. Good. And then I'm right there and there, give me a minus 1 over there's your answer right there. You ready? One more. Okay, can we do it? Of course we can do it. Yes. First denominator. X minus 2 times x minus 2 minus, now, here's what I'm going to do. Good. Why did I put that thing in parentheses?
So you could make that big.
Yeah, good, because I'm subtracting the whole thing. Plus, now if you want to, you can go ahead and distribute that negative. So you can make that negative x plus 3. Aiden said this was a dots. What's your common denominator? An x minus 2 is the same. Good. And then I say, well, I don't have anything else the same, so I just have to write everything else down. X minus 2 and x plus 2. What's the first fraction need? X plus 2. Good. And please put that in parentheses. What's the second fraction need? An x minus 2. Good. You're doing well. First numerator. What am I going to do? FOIL. 3x squared minus 2x plus 6x is plus 4x. Now, I'm going to distribute over here. Minus x squared. I just think it's so much easier if you have this as a plus. What's this? What's that? Positive or negative? That's a positive 2x plus 3x is? Good. Well done. Now combine like terms and we'll be finished with this sucker. That's part of it. That's part of it. What's the x squared part? Here and here I got a 2x squared. Good. Plus 9x. Good. Minus 10. Oh, whoops. There you go. Okay, guys, you're doing real well. You really are. Because it's 3 o'clock, we can finish up these last two problems fairly quickly. I know what goes in these blanks.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You want to erase it?
Yeah, I'll try. A complex fraction is a fraction that contains a fraction.
Well, that would work.
Why did they not have those in the other one?
Why is there a dot?
Because I don't know.
I said it after you.
Because there's not. When you divide two fractions, you multiply by the? An H in multiply? Multiply.
No, I put multiply. Yeah. Put it after B.
No. Multiply.
Yeah.
Multiply. Okay. Right there. Now, don't make me come over there. The reciprocal of 4 is 1/4. The reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. Okay, let me just go through this with you. Please notice that it's all of this stuff divided by all of this stuff. Okay? Now, this right here is just one fraction, isn't it? This up here is two fractions added together. So, what I got to do is I got to figure out how to add these two fractions on the top. It's exactly what you've been doing. Now, will this factor? Will this factor? So, what is my common denominator for the top part of this? X. Here's an x minus 1. Here's an x. That's it. Do you have, look, I got x and I got x minus 1. Do you have anything common? And don't tell me x is common because this is x minus 1. That is a thing. X minus 1, they are married. They are married. They are married because they are a denominator together. So, my common denominator is x times x minus 1. Oh, stop. Yeah, just leave it like this. Leave it like this. Now, what does this first fraction, 3/x minus 1, what does it need? So, x. What does this fraction need? X minus 1, x minus 1. So what have I got? 3x plus 2x minus 2. Right? I don't need to find a common denominator in the bottom because I just got one fraction. I'm dividing by 1/2x minus 2. Dividing by a fraction, I multiply by the reciprocal of this times, what's the reciprocal of that? Now it's a multiplication problem. You don't cross multiply because you don't have an equal. Now, hold it. When you multiply fractions, you factor everything you possibly can and see if you have any common factors in the numerator and denominator. Is there anything up there that will factor? 2x minus 2 will. How? GCF. Now, so I got 5x minus 2 over x times x minus 1 times 2 times, indeed. Now, hang on. Look, woohoo! She does that. What's the numerator? Right. It's 5x minus 2 times 2. 10x minus 4. Right. Question? You have a question? No. Okay. Wait a minute. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's good.
Now we have another question.
Okay. So I thought that the exit. That's what I thought. Not. See, I told you. Because if you would.
These X's?
Yeah.
Okay.
Putting it.
Okay. Hold it. Hold it. Hold it. Now, what did I put in place of the X? A 3. Now, what is 10 times 3? Minus 4. 26 over 3, right? This is 26 over 3, right? Now, if I do this, woohoo, is it still 26 over 3? No, it's 10 minus 4, which is 6 over 1, which is 6. The only way, listen, the only way you can factor out a common factor between the numerator and denominator, just multiplied. And subtracted. And subtracted. If it was this, Karen, what if I had done this? Now, let's try something else. What if it had said this? Wait. What if it had been this? Right. Do you see that numerator, that X is outside the parentheses? I can factor that X out. Now, let me show you something. What if I let X be 5? 5. Everywhere I see an X, I'm going to put a 5. 5 times 5 minus 4 divided by 5. Okay? What's 5 minus 4? What's 5 minus 4? 1 times 5. 5 is 1, right? Now, what if I had factored out these 5s? It's still 1. It is still 1. I can factor out when something is just being multiplied. But if it is also being added or subtracted, I can't. Now look, see, this 10 or this X, yeah, it's being multiplied by 10, but you're also subtracting with it. Does that help any? Okay, yeah. Dang it, yeah, it helps. Dang it. Okay, one more. Well, good. You want to work it up here?
Yeah, do it. Do it.
You want to? Okay, Angel's going to work the next problem, so I will turn off the recording and let